and we're going to start this meeting. I'm letting in Beth, Deborah, and Ella. It's joining. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're going to start this meeting. Oh, I'm letting in Beth. It always does that. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You. I love seeing everyone's faces, some familiar faces and hopefully some new ones too. We are Digital Helpmates, and this is what we used to call Tech Support Tuesday, and then we were calling it Tech Tips for the Technically Clueless, and I have decided we're going to shorten this down, and this is now just called Technically Clueless. And it is for all the tech tips that you might want to ask 3 tech tutors. We also live stream this on YouTube, so we're getting that set up right now. So if anybody wants to catch this class that wasn't able to see it live, then you can go to our YouTube channel. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in just a minute. But first, I'd like to do some introductions, just in case you aren't familiar with those of us on screen. I am Laura Moynihan, the founder of Digital Helpmates. I still tutor on Apple devices. And to my right here, I don't know if he's on your right or your left, we have Steve Olfest coming to us from Denver, Colorado. I'm sure that there are several of you on this call who have tutored with one or the other of us. He also, like I said, tutors on Apple and Mac devices as I do. And then we also have our lovely Dana Hillman here. She is now streaming from Washington, although over in central Washington, Yakima, and she tutors on PC and Android devices and specializes in all things Google. And then we also have here Selena. Selena is one of our virtual assistants today. She's going to be helping us monitor the chat so that we can just teach and talk to you, and she'll let us know if any questions pop up there. And also for those of you, if you happen to be watching live on YouTube or Facebook, you can post your questions there, and Selena will make sure that we get to it and answer them live here on Technically Clueless, so that we don't call ourselves Technically Clueless anymore, right? That's the whole point of it. So anyway, thank you all for being here today. It's so great to see so many familiar faces. And with that, we are going to move into our announcements. So announcements, the only announcement we have is that the next Tech Support Tuesday, we're doing this once a quarter. It's going to be August 22nd, same bat time, same bat channel. So go ahead and put that in your calendars now if you wanted to come to that one. And you can send us your tech questions in advance. In fact, you can send them anytime you want to info@digitalhelpmates.com. Just say, hey, this is for Technically Clueless, and we will answer it here live on screen. Those who send in their questions ahead of time will get featured first in our broadcast. Okay, so I did mention that these replays are available on YouTube. So I'm going to show you a couple of really important parts of our website so that you can get to these replays. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. This is our website here. You can see it. Hopefully my picture isn't in the way. digitalhelpmates.com. So the first thing I wanted to show you is at the top here, you see this Send Me Tech Tips. This is to sign up for our email list. I really encourage you to do that. We send out informational emails about once a week, sometimes a little more often than that, and try to teach you about any scams we know that are going on, any new things in technology. People are constantly telling me that they love how informative our emails are. And every once in a while, we let you know if we have a promotion or a sale or some sort of special thing going on as well. But mostly these are informational emails. So if you haven't signed up, or you've signed up and you haven't been getting our emails, try signing up again here. You can also send us an email and we can try to help you figure that out. If you're like, wait a minute, I think I'm getting your tech tips, but I don't see them. You can check your junk mail too. Okay, the second thing I wanted to show you is all the way at the bottom. Go way down to the bottom of our website and see these teeny tiny little icons down here. This is where you can find Digital Helpmates on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. So YouTube, all you have to do is click on that little icon, and it's going to bring you over to the Digital Helpmates Technically Clueless YouTube page. Now, this has some clips on here that you can view. To see the whole live stream that we're doing now, you actually have to click on live. And here we go. This is it right now being broadcast live. You might see a couple of old ones that you can go back and watch if you want. We're probably only going to keep up about one at a time and then take down the others as they get older. So make sure you watch this one before our next Technically Clueless comes up in August. And then the last thing I wanted to show you on our website, if you forget the date of the next Technically Clueless, you forget where to get the sign up link to register, you can find that on our website too. You go up here to About Us, go down to Events and Webinars, click on that. And there you go. These are all of the tech tips for the Technically Clueless going on into the distant future. And on each one of them is the place that you can register. You copy and paste that into your web browser and you can register for it. You can also add it to your calendar using this really cool drop-down menu and choose the calendar that you want to put it on. Okay. All right. So that's everything I wanted to tell you about today about digital helpmates. I didn't get any questions in advance. So today we are, of course, presenting on Digital Wallets 101. We're going to do that after we have all of our questions answered. Does anyone here that is with us right now have any tech questions that have come up recently and you want to have 3 different tech tutors chime in on them to try to help you solve your issues? Is anyone brave enough to ask us any tech questions? Because we're here, we're brave enough to answer them. Yes, looks like Beth has a tech question. Go ahead. And
mine is really a silly old one.
No, none of them are silly.
Well, when I just go to put my name in, when I'm signing up a new website or something, I always get some kind of pop-up window that gets in my way with my name, Elizabeth Jandernoa, and with Elizabeth Randolph and Elizabeth somebody else. And it gets in the way of me being able to just write my name. And I have to like wait until it disappears. Is there something I can do to get rid of that?
Oh my gosh. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Good. I feel better knowing that.
Yes. This is kind of a little bit of an annoyance to me personally, and maybe to a lot of us who do web surfing. And I purposefully have not done this on the Digital Helpmates website because I find it to be so annoying. These are pop-up boxes.
Yeah.
Websites use, they time them to pop up at different times. Sometimes it's when they think you're about to leave the website and they're trying to pop up and again, capture, trying to get you to sign up for their email list. Like I just asked you to sign up for mine, but they're doing it in kind of this obnoxious way where it's sort of like, hey, I don't care what else you're doing right now on this website. Do this right now, So honestly, every single time one of those pop-ups comes up, I immediately just close it. Mm-hmm. What about you, Steve and Dana?
So actually what Beth is referring to is the autofill feature.
That's what I'm referring to. Thank you.
Yeah.
I called it pop-up, but it's autofill.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
It looks like a little pop-up window, but it's actually autofill, and it's happening in Safari. Is that where it's happening to?
Yes.
Mainly the Safari web browser?
Yeah.
So when you go depending on which operating system you're using, Apple for years used the term preferences.
Yes.
And now they've switched in their new operating system in Mac OS Ventura to using the term settings. So whether you find settings or preferences, you go up to where you see the name of the application, the upper left-hand corner there, and you go down to that Safari preferences, Safari settings, and then in there, look for autofill. And there'll be a checkbox there that says usernames, and passwords, and there'll be one that says using information from your contacts. And that's really the one that we're talking about now, because it's actually finding your contact information and trying to prompt you to automatically fill that in.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that's unchecked if you don't want that to show up anymore.
Thank you.
And actually, I was I was about to get there. The worst of all is a pop-up window that immediately fills in because the autofill is turned on, right? That happens to me.
Right, right.
So here's what Steve was talking about.
Settings. Yep.
Have Safari, you go to settings.
Yep.
And oh, of course, it's like covered up with all my Zoom windows. You go to autofill, and then is it this right here?
It's not visible because you're only showing your back window. We're not seeing your settings.
Okay. All right. So anyway.
But I got it. Settings and then autofill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then using info from my contacts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes that can be helpful, so it's one of those things where I find it to be helpful to be able to fill in my home address, like when I'm doing forms on Safari. So,
yeah, that's right. So either it's totally on and you're seeing it all the time in those things, or it's totally off and it's never filling things in at all for you.
Okay. Well, I'll play with it because it also fills in another Elizabeth, not just me. So why it's got another person's name in there, I don't know. So yeah, at least I know where to look.
Yeah.
Well, another thing to check is if you open your contacts, you open up that little brown app in your dock, probably in your dock, it says contacts, you open that up. And then you go up to in the menu bar up across the top, there's something there that says card, and under card you go to my card. So go to my card and you make sure that my card is actually you. Okay. If it's not, you might want to find your name in the listing of all your contacts and click on that. Then you go up to card at the top and you say, make this my card. That's how the computer actually knows who you are.
Okay. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, there's the one card that represents you is also going to have a little silhouette like next to it. So that's kind of your clue that, oh, okay, that's the one that it thinks.
Me. Okay.
And that should be the only one it's usually filling in, unless it sees that you're typing in someone else's name. I don't know.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been bothering me for years.
Yep.
So that's really helpful. Just a little niggly, but thank you.
It's the little ones that are the worst. So that's why whenever, and people say this all the time, oh, this is so silly and you're going to think I'm dumb, or no, not at all. Like if you have that question, guaranteed a bunch of other people have that question too.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any stupid little questions that we can answer, which aren't stupid at all? Going once. Going twice. We're about to move on to our other topics if you don't have any other questions. Okay, that's it. We're going to move on because we have a lot of stuff to teach you about digital wallets. This is a really, really exciting thing that has been around since, let's see, we were trying to do a little bit of research just as we were, meeting before this thing started. When, Steve, when did Apple start? Well, Apple was the forerunner in all of this. They were the ones that kind of pioneered this. So when did we find out that they started this whole movement towards digital wallets?
So I guess back in 2011, Apple came up with this concept called Passbook. And what Passbook was, the idea behind it was a place to store your tickets, like your movie tickets. They wanted to get to a place where we could put plane tickets and things like that, but they were kind of setting the groundwork for that to happen in the future. And some of the airlines did start adapting that, depending on which airline. It may have been faster than others. But where you can actually add your tickets to this passbook. And then Apple came up with this concept of having sort of a wallet, having your credit cards in there. And so the passbook app morphed into this wallet app. And that came really with the hardware in the iPhone. The hardware having the ability to use Bluetooth. This is actually Bluetooth technology to find close proximity. So to find a reader, that Wi-Fi reader, actually, he used a combination of Bluetooth and low. Let's see. There's another technology that it uses anyway, that proximity, that it finds that chip in proximity to the actual reader. So anyway, it was built into the hardware of the new iPhone starting in 2014. And
before you get into your whole presentation, Steve, I just want to ask everybody who here is using a digital wallet in some way, shape, or form. Raise your hand. Okay, so a few of us are, little bit, right? Okay, the rest of us, I would imagine, are just wondering, should I be using this? Is this something that I should be using? I hear other people talking about it. One of the really cool things about using a digital wallet is it is far safer than using a physical card, because your number, your actual credit card number, is never actually shared with the store that you're using it with. It is encrypted data. And so there's nothing for anyone to steal. Plus, like with the iPhone, it's using your face, or it's using your fingerprint, some sort of, biometric thing to make sure that you're you. So, this whole thing of having credit cards be easily visible and shareable and all that kind of stuff is something that I think, people are realizing that's where it makes them very easy to steal. And they're trying to get away with that, or get away from that. And using digital wallets is one way to do that. So Steve is going to start us off in presenting, since Apple pioneered this, and he is an Apple expert. He's going to teach us all about Apple Pay, which, Apple, it's split into all these different, I don't know what you call it, apps, brands, whatever. There's Apple Pay, and what is Apple Pay versus what is Apple Card, and what is Apple Cash. He's going to be talking about all three of those things, which all have to do with digital wallets. And then I'm going to come on after that and show you what else wallets can do. They can not only store your credit cards, they can also store tickets and boarding passes, things like that, we're all moving away from paper things, and the digital wallet is essential to that. So I'm going to teach you about that a little bit. And then if we have time, Dana's going to chime in and teach you about Google Wallet for those of you who are not on an Apple device, or maybe just prefer the Google products. So that's how we're going to present today. And if you have any questions while any of us are presenting, please don't hesitate to use the chat screen to ask them. And then when we get to a logical point in the presentation, we will answer them. Okay, so Steve, you ready to start?
Okay, I'll go ahead and share my presentation here. Everybody can see this, I hope. Yep. So we are talking a little bit about using the Apple Wallet here. Dana will be getting into how it might work on an Android phone later on here. So the Apple Wallet app, it looks like this. It's, like I said, it's been included on all iPhones since 2014's iOS operating system. I don't remember what it was back then, but this is where we're going to go to store all of our credit cards, also loyalty cards, tickets, things like that. There's a shortcut to get to this wallet app if you're just wanting to access your cards, but you actually have to and you do that by clicking twice on the button on either the right-hand side of your phone, or if you've got an older iPhone, it might be the home button, the button on the front. You might click on that twice to get into the wallet app. That shows you everything that you've stored in the wallet. But if you actually want to add new cards, you actually have to go into this app, find this app on your phone, and open it up here. So this is what this is going to look like here. So when you first open up the wallet app, you're going to see a plus. If you don't have any cards in there yet, it'll ask you to add your first card. Now, the first card by default that will be added to the Apple Wallet will be the card that you've associated with all of your Apple payments. So if you have gone into, generally when you set up an iPhone, you're prompted to log in with your Apple ID, and then that Apple ID is associated with one credit card that you're making payments to Apple with. And you can see, of course, what card that is. When you go into your settings on your phone, you go to your name at the top and you go under payments. There you can see what credit card you're associated with Apple. But that's the first thing that you're going to see here in the wallet. It'll ask you for the 3-digit security code on the back of that card to activate it in the wallet. But to add more cards, you're going to use this little plus button here in the upper right-hand corner of that wallet app here. So what you see when you click on the plus there is the option to add a debit or credit card. And in certain cities, you can also add a transit card. So you can purchase a transit card in certain cities like Los Angeles, for instance. You could have a certain card that's associated with that transit network, and so that allows you to tap your phone rather than pulling out a physical card to tap to go in to the transit network, to the subways and buses and so on. You can pay with your phone. But what we're talking about here really is adding your debit or credit card. If you choose to add a debit card, you'll be able to use that with Apple Cash, which we'll get to in a few minutes here. But of course, adding a credit card, you'll be prompted to, first of all, scan your card. It will bring up your camera on the back side of your phone, and you could have your card on a flat surface. It'll pick up the numbers from your card. Most credit cards these days actually have the numbers printed on the back of them. So flip that over to scan those numbers and the expiration date, and then you'll be prompted to enter in your 3-digit code. Now, based on your credit card issuer, there'll be different prompts for you to go through. Of course, you have to agree to some terms and things like that. Certain credit cards will send you like a text code, like a 2-factor authentication over your text messages, which you'll have to enter. Other credit cards will send you an email that you have to actually go into your email and confirm that you actually want to add this account to your Apple Wallet. And other credit cards don't even ask you for any additional verification. Also, it depends on the issuer as to what kind of verification you'll need to go through to get that there. But it will actually get an image of whatever that credit card is there, so you'll be able to recognize it in your Apple Wallet. And one thing I should mention is that not every card works in Apple Wallet. If you've got a credit card maybe from a smaller regional bank, it may not work in Apple Wallet. Certainly all the big banks do work in Apple Wallet. So you might get a message that says this card simply doesn't work in Apple Wallet. For a long time, I had a certain Chase credit card that did not work in Apple Wallet, even though all my other Chase cards worked in Apple Wallet, which was kind of strange. So you maybe even from a certain issuer, they might have one particular brand of card that doesn't work in Apple Wallet. So once you've added it, the way that it works is you can use your, like I said, you could use that button. Generally, with all the new phones that have the facial ID, you'll click twice on that side button to bring up all your cards in Apple Wallet. And you can select which one you want, and then it'll use your facial recognition to verify who you are. So you got to make sure your facial recognition is enabled. If you haven't enabled Face ID on your phone, you want to make sure that's set up. You go into your settings, of course, and go under Face ID and passcode and set up your Face ID. You need to have your Face ID enabled in order to make Apple Pay work on all of the phones that support Apple Pay, that support Face ID. I should say, if it's an older phone, or you can still get the iPhone SE that has the physical home button on the bottom of the screen there. That actually uses Touch ID. So in order to make Apple Pay work, you'll need to make sure that Touch ID is enabled you'll use your fingerprint to identify who you are, then you can simply just tap it. And as Laura mentioned, when you're tapping it at that credit card reader, it's actually sending a unique code, encrypted code, that's for that specific transaction. So you may see the other technology, like I said, that works with these credit card readers is RF technology, radio frequency technology. So you may see on your physical credit cards that you have the ability to tap to pay with those credit cards, and you may have seen, like wallets. There's like a physical when we talk about, a wallet you would carry in your pocket or your purse, that physical wallet, and you put all your cards in there. You may see those wallets actually have a RF blocking on it. So the idea is that if somebody were to, walk by you, they could, in theory, read that RF chip, read that physical number that comes off your credit card, if they should swipe by you with some type of reader. Well, this is different using this electronic digital wallet in that somebody couldn't, use a reader to get your code or get your credit card number in process of paying, because it's just a unique code that's generated for the one transaction that you're actually using it at. So that's one reason why it's better to use Apple Pay with your phone to tap to pay, rather than pulling out your physical card in your wallet and tapping to pay there, because your physical card in your wallet with that RF chip in it is actually transmitting that actual number on your credit card. So this is just a safer way to pay if you are a little bit. Now, I haven't heard of anybody their credit card number being stolen by somebody walking by with a reader or something like that, but in theory, this is a safer way to pay. So if you've got an Apple Watch, you can set up your Apple, those same cards on your for your Apple Watch as well. In fact, when you add the card in the wallet app, it will ask you if you want to add it also to your Apple Watch. If you want to add it later, if you choose no at that time, you want to add it later to your Apple Watch, all you do is you open up the Apple Watch app, which is what we're looking at right here. And in the Apple Watch app, you'll go under where it says Wallet and Apple Pay, and you just click on Add Card here, and that'll allow you to add any of the cards you've already added to your phone's Apple Wallet, to your watch as well, or you can. I think you can also select to only have it in your Apple Watch and not have it in your phone's wallet if you choose to do it that way. So so very similar to paying with a phone. So to bring up that wallet in your phone, you click twice on that button, on that side button. It does a facial recognition. Of course, there's no facial recognition on an Apple Watch. So it's actually, Apple Watch identifies who you are by your biorhythm. So if you have not enabled your passcode to open up your Apple Watch, you'll need to do that in order to use Apple Wallet. The passcode is like a 4-digit code that you'll enter in when you put your watch on in the morning, and in theory, it should remember who you are all day based on your biorhythm. So in other words, by having that watch on your wrist physically all day, and you put in that code in the morning, it's recognizing then your heart, your rhythms and things like that, knowing that you haven't, taken that watch off of your wrist, and that's how it's identifying you. That's how it's securing you, so that when you want to use that watch to pay for something, you just use the bottom right hand button, and you just click on it twice, double click, just like it's a double click on the phone, double click on the side of the watch, and then you just turn it over on the reader to pay. So it's really quick and easy, and it's pretty amazing. It took some time for some stores to adapt to sort of this contactless payment system. But it's pretty amazing now. It's available pretty much everywhere. I think one of the last holdouts to accepting Apple Pay was Kroger. And so if you they wanted you to use their own app. So Kroger has something built into their app called Kroger Pay. So based on what part of the country you're in, Kroger, it goes by a variety of different brand names. But they wanted you to open up their app and to have a credit card stored in there, and then their cashiers would scan your phone to be able to pay. But they finally have now relented and allowed for Apple Pay. Oh, I should say another holdout in that on those same lines is Walmart. Walmart still does not accept Apple Pay. They want you to use their own app, their own Walmart Pay app to pay. I don't know how wide that adoption's been at this point.
There's a question related to that in the chat that I can see, actually. Deb is asking, my credit union is offering a digital wallet to access that bank account. Is that different?
So the credit union is basically saying that is to access your bank account. The only thing I can think of, go ahead.
I'm just guessing, and maybe Deb, you can unmute and chime in. It sounds like they have their own wallet app, which probably is not nearly as sophisticated as this, and they want you to try to use that. But I wonder if you could use both.
I think it's the case that the credit union has their own. I haven't explored it because I knew I was going to be watching this session today, so I don't know more about it, but it sounds like it's their own. That's all I know.
Yeah, and I would be tempted to kind of ignore that and use Apple's, because of course Apple's going to allow you to store all sorts of stuff in there. I mean, ideally you want to have one wallet, not 10 wallets, right? So same thing with like Walmart Pay. I would never do that. I think Starbucks has the same thing where you can like store money on their app and you can pay using that. I mean, my mind goes to what's the advantage of that other than just making my life more complicated, you know? I guess if they're going to offer you some bonuses if you drink at Starbucks every day, which actually I did today, but still not worth it for me. So anyway.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and oftentimes digital wallet is referring to Apple Pay. So oftentimes banks will say, we offer the convenience of adding your card to your digital wallet. That kind of phrasing, something of that respect, that means that the credit card or debit card that's offered through that particular financial institution is Apple Pay compatible. So then you could add it to that Apple Pay.
Thank you.
So then a lot of people get confused. Well, so you have this Apple Wallet, and you can put whatever credit cards you already have in there, or debit cards you have in there. So what's this other card that Apple is offering? So Apple decided to sort of venture into, I guess, into the financial services industry to a certain extent in conjunction with one of the major financial institutions. And so basically you can get an Apple credit card, which is essentially it's a MasterCard. So it can be used any place that MasterCards can be used. It's in conjunction with Goldman Sachs. So anyway, they've made it very simple. With your phone, you can just click on apply for a card, and you can be instantly approved. Of course, you have to put in your general information you'd expect to put in on a credit card application. And what you get from that, first of all, the idea was that Apple wanted to encourage more people to use their phones basically for making payments rather than, the old habit of pulling out a physical card to do that. So they sort of incentivize that when you use your phone or your Apple Watch to make payments, certain merchants like Apple, like Nike, they've got about a dozen merchants that are available with this. If you're paying with Apple Pay, you'll get 3% back. I should mention one other thing, that by adding your credit card into your Apple Wallet, it doesn't mean that you're only using it to physically make payments at a reader. There's also many online merchants that accept Apple Pay as well. So basically, if you add it to this wallet and you visit one of these websites when you're checking out, there'll be an option when you're checking out to use Apple Pay to basically make that payment. When you do that, you'll get the choice for which credit card you want to use. And you'd be doing that from one of your Apple devices, of course. You'll be paying through your phone. You can also use it on an iPad or a computer. Any of these devices that you've essentially authenticated who you are by logging in using your password or your facial ID or your touch ID kind of thing. So it kind of works online as well as sort of in the physical stores kind of thing. So you could use any card, but let's talk specifically about this Apple Card. So if you're using this Apple Card to either pay for one of these payments online using Apple Pay, or you're paying in a store using Apple Pay, using that tap to pay with your phone or your watch, you're getting 3% back. If it's not on their list of sort of their premium merchants or whatever that are associated with that 3% rebate, you'll get 2% back if you're using Apple Pay. As far as I know, Apple Pay, the only gas station that actually takes Apple Pay is Costco. I have not seen it at any other gas stations as of yet. So that's sort of a bummer, because if your only form of payment is the Apple Card, you don't have that option to pay with Apple Pay. If you're paying at the pump, you'd have to physically pull out a card and stick it into the pump kind of thing, which means that you'd only be getting 1% back with the Apple Card specifically.
So
but
I chime in about the Apple Card a little bit. So I have an Apple Card. And the reason why I got it, and why I think a lot of people end up getting it, and Apple did this when they launched the card, they're still doing it, is to try to promote the card, is like when you buy a phone or a MacBook or whatever, something at the Apple store that maybe you want to pay for in payments, they'll say, well, if you apply for the Apple Card, we'll let you pay this in monthly installments with 0 interest for like,
right.
I don't know,
2 years,
I think it's for
usually.
a year or 2 years or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good deal. And that does push a lot of people into getting the card. I think for that reason alone, it's worth it. They also don't, their big thing is they don't have late fees. They don't have annual fees. They do have, interest that, you would have to pay if you carry a balance, but I don't know.
Unless you're under one of those deals, like buying from Apple, and they're able to waive that interest for a certain period of time.
So it is a nice way to be able to afford an expensive new purchase at Apple.
Yeah, and the advantage there, of course, is that you're sort of double dipping, right? Because you're not only able to extend those payments over a certain period of time, you're also getting that 3% back simultaneously. So versus doing some of the older ways of making payments on a purchase, you may not be getting rewards along with that kind of thing. So that's sort of the Apple Card. now there's this other thing you'll see in the wallet that says Apple Pay Cash. A lot of people get that confused, that what's the Apple Card versus Apple Pay Cash. Well, Apple Pay Cash is actually like a cash transaction almost, in that it's pulling money directly out of account. It doesn't have to be an Apple account, although if you are using that Apple Card, the money that you're earning, that 3% back, 2%, 3%, 2%, 1% back, you have the option to put it directly onto your Apple Pay Cash. So that money actually, it immediately credits. So the moment that you make a transaction, that whatever 3% of your purchase was, or 2%, it'll go back and you'll see that credit back on your Apple Pay Cash. So you'll have that available, and you can transfer that right back to your bank account if you want, or you can transfer it to other people. So you can easily set this up. Now, if you don't have the Apple Card, you can, if you have a debit card in your Apple Wallet, you can also use it with Apple Pay Cash as well. So then it knows what account it's transferring it from based on your debit card that's associated with your bank, and it can transfer that over. So you can use Apple Pay Cash, very similar to sort of like Venmo or PayPal, or some of the other things that are out there. It's sort of a person-to-person kind of payment kind of system. And it kind of goes through, when you're setting it up, about how it works and that kind of thing. It prompts you to add your debit card, so you can have that account available to transfer money to or from, or if somebody sends you money, of course, then it knows what bank account to transfer that back into. So once it's set up there, then you'll see the option there to send or request money. If you're familiar with Venmo, it's very similar. You have options to send or request money kind of thing. And you could just put in the amount, who you want to send it to, things like that. You can also like send somebody like an iMessage through text message, and you can one of the options that shows up. So in iMessage, and we're talking about the types of messages that go between Apple devices. We're not talking about those are the messages that show up in blue versus the messages that show up in green. We're not talking about those types of messages that go to non-Apple devices. Anyway, you can click on the little A at the bottom there, and then it will say pay. So you can just put it in, and it'll prompt you with your Apple Pay account, or your Apple Cash account, to put in the amount that you want to send to the other person. And then as long as they have it all set up, it will send it right over that way.
Hey,
So,
Steve.
yeah,
Deb wants to know, does the recipient need to also have Apple Cash to receive that money?
Yeah, absolutely, because you have to know which account it's going to and from. So both ends have to have that set up. But like I said, so they have to have an Apple device to do it. We've talked about that. But they'll have to have added everybody's going to have to add their own debit cards. But that way, of course, nobody knows, anybody else's bank account numbers, anything like that, because it's all that secure transfer between accounts kind of thing there.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. I've had money sent to me through text message, and it's fairly simple to just right on the spot, set up your Apple Cash account, put in your bank account, and then it transfers to your bank account.
Mm-hmm. So your other option now, if you have that Apple Card with those 3%, 2%, and 1% payments you get back from your purchases, is to put it into Apple Savings account, and it's currently earning 4.15% interest, and who knows, if interest rates go up, that interest rate will probably go up as well. So that's a pretty good savings rate. In fact, Apple announced that the day after Apple Savings went live, I think they had well, it was an enormous number of signups. I don't remember what the actual number was, but several million signups on the very first day that it went live. So with Apple Savings, you'll see that also in your wallet there. So you can actually have the options to add or withdraw money for it. And you can have it linked. You can see here in this example here, it would also be linked to your regular, let's say your checking accounts. You could, easily transfer money back and forth between your checking account as well. But you have to have the Apple Card in order to have this Apple savings account. High yield savings is what it would be considered, a high yield savings. And it shows you the performance over time and things like that. So that's another incentive, I guess, to have this very high rate of savings there. So here's just some other screenshots of what it looks like with your Apple Card and things like that kind of thing. And how you're choosing to put that money back, those rebates you're getting back from the Apple Card. The newest option that's come from Apple Financial Services is Apple Pay Later. So we've talked about how you can split your payments over time with an Apple purchase using the Apple Card. Apple Pay Later does not require having the Apple Card, although it does require having a credit check. It does check your credit when you sign up for it. It's called a soft pull, so it's not a hard pull on your credit. It doesn't affect your credit rating, but they do check your credit. You have to put in your credit information, just like applying for any kind of other loan. What you can do with Apple Pay Later is you can see there's a button in there. It says new purchase amount. You can put in the amount that you want to purchase. It'll actually show you. It'll break down sort of what your payments will be, and how it'll break down. It's sort of like a short-term loan kind of thing. It's not something that would go on for years and years. It'd be like, for a short-term amount of time. Or I should say you could extend it for a longer amount of time, but then your interest rate is going to really go up. So it's sort of like a credit card on those lines, I guess. So again, with Apple Pay Later, it's not exactly a credit card because you're just sort of making payments. So you're not getting any kind of rewards back on that kind of thing. You're just getting the convenience of being able to make payments on a bigger purchase kind of thing. And you'll see the option to sign up for Apple Pay Later in your wallet there on your phone as well. So it kind of breaks down how it all works, and you can go through and see on the calendar when the different payments are due kind of thing. So just be careful with those interest rates. Like I said, with any of these things, you don't want to overextend yourself, of course. So any questions on this? Yeah, go ahead.
There was actually some questions that came in, and it was about, well, I've asked you most of them, but a couple people were asking about licenses, and I know that kind of might have been something that I was going to present on, but then I found when I actually tried to load my license in, I couldn't do it because it's not offered in our state, but it is in yours, Steve. So if you could answer those questions. The first question on driver's licenses was, Beth is asking, is it wise to add a driver's license? And then the second question was Ella saying, I clicked on driver's license or state ID tab to add it to wallet, and it opens with a listing of 4 states and Washington is not included. So could you answer that?
Yeah, so I think it is wise to add your ID to your phone. It's just one less thing because it is considered legal. So if you were pulled over by an officer here in the state of Colorado and you've added your driver's license to your phone, you could actually show them your phone. You don't have to pull out a physical license anymore. If you wanted to go through security, you could actually use your phone to go through security at the airport. So it's wise in that just one less thing for you to have to carry. I mean, it's super easy and it's considered totally legal. So we're going to get to the point that all states will have this, I think, and as well as passports. I mean, we'll probably get to the point that passports will all be on our phones at some point, I imagine, as well. I think the Secretary or the Department of State has already talked about, that we'll get to that point eventually. So So that's the idea. This is where technology is going. It's quite. I guess they made the process quite simple to add into your phone, into your wallet as well. What's the second question?
Yeah, well, I think you covered them both. Beth is saying, I see there are only 4 states. Ella also said she's not seeing Washington. I see that, when we open up the driver's license or state ID, you press that plus sign. There's only Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, and Maryland. So I'm guessing that means those are the only 4 states that have deemed it to be legal that is just as valid as presenting your card. And for everybody else, you're going to have to still have your card for a little while.
Mhm.
So I'm sure, like you said, Steve, I'm sure it's going in that direction. Just got to be a little patient. And it makes sense because like here in Washington, we have those enhanced driver's licenses, which means that you can actually use them to go to Canada or Mexico, and they have extra things in them to make sure, they can't be forged. So they're probably just trying to figure out how to do that in a digital form, right? Any other questions that we didn't get to yet for anything that Steve presented on? That was an amazing amount of information. If you're confused about all these different services or products that Apple is offering, I am too. I'm really glad that Steve has sorted them all out for us. And all I'm going to talk about is how to add stuff that's not a credit card, stuff that's not about paying. And actually, it's a fairly short presentation because it's a lot simpler, but also a little more complicated all at once. So let me see if I can turn on my screen sharing here. Just one moment. Now, why can't I see it on the bottom of my phone here? Share, there it is. They should turn it green like they do on the computer. Okay, here we go. Start broadcast. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Okay, so here I am on my phone. It can be a little trickier to share on your phone than it can be on your computer, I guess. So my wallet here, I'm going to show you my wallet. So my shortcut for finding apps is to do a quick little swipe down in the middle of the screen. And you can either search for what you want here, but you can see wallets right up here in the Siri suggestions because I've been opening it up a lot lately. And there's what I've got in my wallet. You can see I've got about $12 in Apple Cash and a whole bunch of different cards. And I even went through the process of applying for Pay Later, which is kind of cool. I can't wait to use that. But down here at the bottom, you see there's like a little separation here between the Alaska card and everything below it. Everything below it are the extra things that I have put in my wallet that are not credit cards. So I've added my Costco membership card, my Safeway Club card, my Fred Meyer's reward card, an Apple business. I have a special account at Apple for my business, my YMCA card. And then down here, I have 3 expired passes. I'm going to tap on that to show you what I have in here. So these are expired, but I went to go see Legally Blonde this weekend with my children. It was put on by CK High School. It was amazing. Those kids are incredibly talented. I highly, highly recommend going to see high school theater if you haven't seen it lately. But I put these tickets in my wallet so that they were there and available for when I was at the door and they were wanting to check that. So the easiest way to do that is simply I'm going to end this little screen share here. Or no, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over here to Photos and Albums and Recents, Textbook Tuesday. There we go. And here we go. Okay, so this is actually an image that I took of when I was purchasing the ticket on my phone. And you see here at the bottom, it says Add to Apple Wallet. That's the thing that you want to look for when you're purchasing a ticket or when you are making, plane ticket reservations. Look for that Add to Apple Wallet. That is by far the easiest way to add tickets or boarding passes into your wallet. All you have to do is tap that. You might have to tap it on every single ticket, just a warning. I bought 3 tickets, so you have to go add, but then it should be there in that bottom stack with your loyalty cards, and you can just bring it up. When you bring it up, it kind of looks like this with that little QR code, and it makes your phone brightness go up to the maximum brightness. So hopefully the reader can read it. And then you can get into the play. And here's a lovely picture of the cast of Legally Blonde with my daughter, Lucy, who was so starstruck that she went around asking everybody in the play for their autographs. And these high school seniors were tickled pink, pun intended. So it was great. I thought you might appreciate seeing that. So that's really it for how to add, the easy way to how to add tickets. As far as loyalty cards go, it's interesting. Steve and I were having a conversation about this. I had tried to do this ages ago, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And what I found from my research was they recommended using a third-party app to add loyalty cards. So I found this one called Pass to You. There's more than one out there. Just search in the App Store for add loyalty cards to wallet. And this one is really simple. It simply has you take a picture of the barcode and, put a title on it, and then they appear in your wallet. I do have to say that when I tried to use this with my Safeway card and scan it, for some reason, it wasn't reading it. So I'm not sure if I 100%, can put my stamp on these third-party apps. But Steve actually brought up another way that I didn't know about to add third-party apps. So, Steve, you want to lead me through that again?
So there are some apps that actually have add to wallet built into them. So what I was talking about was the Kroger app. And when you go into the Kroger app, you can actually click on the 3 lines that are in the upper right-hand corner. So if you've got a Kroger account, you'd have to be signed into your account first. You'd open up that account, and you're going to see your card actually listed down at the towards the middle there. It says Plus Card. Depending on what Kroger brand you have nearby, it might be a different brand or that kind of thing. And then there's an option right there just to add it right to your wallet. So this is the thing that you're looking for when you're adding any kind of card to your wallet. Whether it's a loyalty card, it could be a ticket for a plane, that kind of thing. Also, the Viator app allows you to book tours in cities all around the world and in entrances and things like that. So when you add a ticket to one of those tours kind of things, the Viator app, as an example, there's other apps that do this as well. The ticket will show, and then it'll say add to wallet. So it just makes it convenient to have all those entrance tickets in one place with those barcodes.
Yep. But that is also kind of an advanced digital wallet thing. If you decide to just forego loyalty cards and just focus on getting 1 or 2 cards in there, credit cards, start to use those using your phone, your watch, you'll be doing great. So we just have 1 minute left. I think we're going to skip our Google Wallet presentation today, but I know, I'm sorry. But does anybody have any questions left for any of us on Apple Wallet or even Google Wallet, if you were wondering about that? Any last questions? Yeah, go ahead and unmute, Ella.
Okay, so I was getting a little confused whether Apple Pay was just a mode of payment or actually a credit card. So when you were talking about Apple Pay, that's the credit card, right? Rather than just, no, okay.
Apple Pay is like the method which allows Apple to do transactions for you. Do you think that's right, Steve?
Yeah, exactly right. So it's the Apple Card, that's the credit card, which you can put into Apple Pay. You can use it with Apple Pay.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was getting really confused with the terminology because there are so many Apple this and Apple that.
It is. It's super confusing, and don't even get me started on Apple TV because that's another confusing thing altogether. But
thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Oops.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I do see a couple new messages. Let me just make sure. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Beth, and thank you everybody for coming today.
Great.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This wouldn't be a presentation without you, and I hope that we will see you in August. All right.
Thank you so much. So clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.